Hey Casher, Derek here, Baker 6 Clan. Today we're going to be making another type of LED deciphered birdhouse cache, but I'm not going to be using wood. Let's get started. Alright, so normally I make my birdhouses out of deck wood. As much as I love working with deck wood, it gets kind of heavy, it can absorb water, and over time it's going to start breaking down. And I've been really thinking about different locations that a lot of cachers may be building these caches, and I'm trying to come up with a different type of material that I could use to make these birdhouses. Well, through research and everything, what I have found is this PVC board, and it is virtually the same size as the deck wood, but the only thing is it's about twice the price. Deck wood for an 8-foot piece where I get it at the hardware store is about $10. This is about $20 for the same length. However, this isn't going to swell, this isn't going to do a lot of the things that wood will do, and I'm really hoping that it's going to be a lot more durable and will be able to be used in a lot more different clients. Now, something else that's really cool about this is that one side has like a wood grain finish, and then the other side is completely flat and smooth. So I'm hoping that would be really cool. And the other thing is, I don't need to use nails on this. So I'm going to try this out. We'll see if this actually works. It's supposed to handle a lot like wood, so we will see if it does or doesn't. And hey, I don't know, this may go very, very well, or it may go very, very bad. So first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and get this cut up and see how it actually handles, and then we'll come back and start really actually building the gadget or creative cache itself. Let's get started. Alright, so now I've got the PVC board cut, and you know what? It actually cut really easily. It cut very similar to wood, if not even easier. It just kind of cut through butter. Now, one thing I will do next time, and I should have done it this time, is there was a lot of debris, dust particles from this, so I strongly recommend wearing a mask, and I will be wearing a mask from now on. And I'm sorry for those of you that are out there going, yelling at me, wear a mask, wear a mask. I mean, we got enough of them, right? So, but when I cut this, I actually cut this with a wood grain on the outside, because that's what I want on the outside of my birdhouse. Now, the next thing I need to do is go ahead and start kind of assembling part of this together to get it ready to start creating the creative element to it of how to solve the puzzle to get into it. So all I'm going to be using is this PVC cement to actually glue this together. I'm not going to be using nails at this time. I may have to come back and do it later, but I don't think I'm going to have to use nails. So I mean, this is all experimenting, so we'll see actually how this comes together. So let's go ahead and get some of this glued together. All right, so that's glued, and I've got it clamped. I'm letting it dry a little bit, but while it's drying, let's move on to how we're gonna kind of do this LED decipher part of it. Well, I'm just gonna stick with the same medium that I've been using all day, and I'm gonna be using PVC. So we're gonna be using this PVC pipe, and I have here, this is a 1 1/4 inch PVC pipe. Now, this is gonna be the inside core of what I'm gonna be doing. And once again, I'm going to kind of be putting some LEDs on the outside of this and running it into the battery on the inside. This one, you're not going to be required to bring a tot to it. In fact, I'm even providing the magnet once again. And it's another rare earth magnet, but what I'm going to be doing is actually putting the magnet inside the pipe. And my idea for this is take this pipe, and they're going to have to turn it. It's going to be attached to the birdhouse, and they're going to have to turn the pipe itself, and the magnet will drop and it'll activate those LEDs, but you're gonna have to turn it several different times back and forth to be able to get that code to be able to get into the combination. So it's all in my head right now, so we're gonna see how this comes together. But one of the things I know I need to do is that I need to make a plug. And I thought, hey, you know what? I got hole saws. Let's see how this PVC board does with a hole saw. So let's try it out. Okay, so I used that hole saw and I got the end plugs cut out. Now I had to go up a little bit more in power, so I had to use actually a corded drill that I have to actually do the hole saw, which sometimes I have to do that anyways with wood, but definitely gonna have to do it with the PVC board as well. But now I've got these made up, and what they're gonna do is just gonna kind of sit in here. I'm gonna glue them in, and then that'll keep the magnet from coming out of inside of the pipe that's gonna go inside another pipe. But, so let me get this glued up and get this put together. All right, so now the next step is that I'm gonna take the reed switches. I'm gonna go ahead and wire them up with some wire, and I'm gonna solder it together, but I'm gonna once again use the solder sleeves that put these together. I'm just gonna get them long enough so that they'll be able to be glued on the pipe and be able to go into the next pipe. And I'll explain that here in a little bit, but I'm gonna go ahead and pre-wire these now to get it all ready for the next step. All right, so now I've got those reed switches wired into those wires, and now the next step that I'm gonna be doing is taking the reed switches, I'm gonna be gluing it onto the PVC with hot glue. All right, so now I've got the reed switches glued into the pipe, and the magnet just kind of slides back and forth in it. Now the next step that I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna take this 2" to 1.5" T, and this is actually what's gonna go over top of this, so the wires will come through the T here, and then I'm gonna take 2" pipe and put it on the top and on the bottom, and then put the 2" caps on there, and that's gonna seal all this in here, and the wires are all just gonna come out of here itself. Now the other thing that I did in here is that on each one of these wires, I put a piece of tape just on one wire, and that's gonna tell me which side is what. So I'll have the flow of a negative or positive will go through the reed switch and then come back out to the LED. And that just helps me to know which one, and I'm not getting my wires crossed or getting them mixed. So that's why I put that on there. So now let's get the T and the PVC put together and get this part ready to be able to be mounted onto the birdhouse. All right, so now it's all put together with the extension pipe here that's going to be going into the birdhouse itself. And so now what I need to do is break out that hole saw again, but this time a little bit bigger, and put a hole in here so this will actually feed into the side of the birdhouse. All right, so now the hole is drilled and that fits in there nicely. Now what I'm going to be using to actually lock that in place is I'm going to use this cap here, and I'm going to drill a hole, a rather large hole, in the top of this cap so that all the wires will come through, and that'll lock that in place so that pipe won't come out. So now the cap is in place with the hole in there and the wires are coming out. Now I did leave the wires really long for this next step because now I need to actually do the wiring of the LEDs and the batteries inside here so that when this turns, it's not pulling on those wires itself. So that's why I left them a little bit longer. So now let's get the battery and the LEDs and all these wires put together. All right, so now I've got the wiring all completed. And one of the things I did in here as well, I put a stopper in here and some screws into the pipe itself so it won't overturn, so it won't constantly be winding up and pulling these wires out. So what you do now is you turn the pipe, the magnet will start coming down and it'll light up those LEDs. And that way you can figure out what the decipher is. So now let's go ahead and put the rest of the birdhouse together and seal it on up. All right, so now it is all put together And one of the things I did do, I did use the cam lock here on the side. I just really like this lock, and I thought it worked really great with this. And the one great thing about doing this in the PVC board is I don't have to worry about the wood expanding. So it can be a little bit of a tighter fit in here. So it just opens up really nicely, and there it is. It can get into it, and it just really has come together really nicely. And this over here with how this works with the pole coming together and just revealing those LEDs is just really great. Really, really love this. Now, some observations that I had with this PVC board. One, I actually really like it because it is really easy to work with, and the only thing is if you're gonna need a little bit more of a torque on your screwdrivers or your power drills to be able to put the holes in it and everything. So that was just some observation I had there, but cutting it was great. Now, a lot of PVC dust, so make sure that you're wearing a mask, which I didn't, and I said I definitely gonna need to wear a mask next time. So make sure if you're working with this PVC board, wear that. And I cannot wait to see how this really holds up in the wild. Now, the other thing I probably will go back to do is go ahead and go back through and use my nail gun and put some nails at different points on it just to make sure all those locks are there, because just as you know, as building gadgets, muggles or geocachers have a tendency of being a little bit rough, and I want this to be able to last out there because of that. I know the wood's not going to expand because there is no wood. So, but I really like this, and I hope that you like this too. Now, all of the parts, the LEDs, the cam lock, the magnet, the reed switches, and also the solder sleeves, I have links for those all down in the description, and those are affiliate links. So anything that you do and you click on one of those, it does help the channel, and I really do appreciate it. Now, leave me a comment down below. Have you ever worked with this PVC board, and what did you think of this build? So, but hey, don't go anywhere. Go check out another one of these videos just right over here and find the story behind the cache.